What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Paranormal Rush Hour. I'm your host, Ryan Rush, and tonight I want to talk to you guys about Missing 411 again. No, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. It's extremely interesting to discuss and ponder and get other people's opinions on, but it's not what I'm going to be doing every episode on, so don't worry about that. However, there are some that I have looked at that really intrigue me, mainly because of the high strangeness associated with them. And some of those are ones where the phone calls have been made while the people were going missing. And other ones are where they show up in really strange places, nowhere near the places they were when they went and disappeared. So those are what I want to look at, and I'll get into them in a second. First, I want to thank all of my new subscribers. I really appreciate everybody who's decided to join us over here, and I have the best audience that I've ever seen on YouTube, so I want to thank every one of you guys who have watched and commented and encouraged me and given me information and all this stuff. The emails too, especially. That helps so much to have you guys be able to contribute content, and I hope I do it justice when I record it and share it. So anyway, I also want to point out that I changed my artwork recently. I put another UFO drawing from my friend Leonard Mott Jr., who is like my personal paranormal artist, which is the most awesome thing that you could have when you do something like this. And anyway, he has sent me some amazing pieces of art, in my opinion, and I love his sketches. This one is awesome, though. It's a UFO over like a forest, and every one of these little things here is a tree. Like all that stuff right there is tree. Like every one of those is a little tree. It's very detailed. I love that thing. It's got the shadowing and everything. I love it. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that I said something about that because it's an awesome piece of art. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Missing 411. Strange distances, I guess, is what this would be. Because one of them I want to talk about is Stephen Kubacki, and he went missing in February of 1978. Okay, he went solo skiing up near Lake Michigan, because it's by something called the Michigan Triangle, is where he was. There's 3 points up in Lake Michigan, and they also call it the Lake Michigan Triangle because it's actually in Lake Michigan. There are 3 points where within these 3 points, people have gone missing, like hundreds of people. And there's also been disappearances of like boats and things like that. I think airplanes too. Anyway, this is one of those places. It's just like the Bermuda Triangle, the Alaska Triangle, those things. It's really crazy. So, I don't know. I mean, all I know is places like that tend to have a lot of strange things occur, and I wonder if it's just something in that geographic location that causes it, or if it's something like around a certain resource like water, because it seems like all of these triangles, there is water associated with them. I've noticed that. Well, anyway, I'm just kind of snowballing right there, but I'm going to get back on this. Anyway, he went missing, okay, and the way they found out was some snowmobilers came across his tracks, and they led right up to the bank, up to the shore of the lake, of Lake Michigan. And I think it was Lake Michigan. It may have been a smaller tributary lake or something like that, but I think it was Lake Michigan. But anyway, regardless, it was a lake. And this dude left his skis, his ski poles, and his backpack with everything in it, like all of his identification, money, everything he needed. And this guy was 24. So, I mean, it's not like he was like super old, or, I mean, he could take care of himself and probably had enough judgment not to go and start walking out onto the ice. But no one knew where he went. These guys found this stuff. They called the police. Nobody could find him anywhere. And that was that. They, I think, pronounced him dead. Like they had no idea where he went. Well, Stephen himself wakes up in a field 15 months later, and he's in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Okay, like over 700 miles from where he went missing. He's in this place in a field, and it's like springtime, I think. I can't remember when this was as far as the time of year goes. I would be interested to know though, because I've been looking at times of year, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But this is weird, man, because this guy like woke up in this field, found out he was in, I think he found somebody and asked them where he was, and it turns out he was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Okay, he had an aunt that lived in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and he went to her house. He made his way to her house, and she was just shocked to see him, and she drove him up to his parents' house. So 15 months after his son went missing, his dad gets a knock on the door, and there's Stephen at the door. Like, just, hey, Dad, here I am. What's up? How's it going? How things been? A year and a half later, here I am. That's weird. Okay. Yeah, where was he? Okay. He had a new backpack, new glasses. He had on a shirt from a marathon, like a participant shirt from a Wisconsin marathon. He had all these novelties and, like, I guess memorabilia type things, little trinkets and stuff, like souvenirs, I guess, from different states, like all over the place. Utah, Nevada, there's here and there, like all over. He had this stuff with him in Massachusetts when he woke up. He had new glasses. That's another thing. He had new glasses, and they were prescription glasses, and they were correct. So he had to have gotten the new glasses at some point. I mean, he had gotten haircuts. His hair wasn't like as long as it would be for a year and a half. So somebody had to have been cutting his hair. Like, this is some strange stuff. Stephen himself doesn't know what happened, or he won't say if he does. He claims that, he just remembers waking up, and that's it. So where was he? He had new shoes and everything. New clothes, new shoes. Where did this dude get this stuff? Where had he been, and what had he been doing for a year and a half? And he had $40 in his pocket too. That was another thing. Yeah, $40. What's up with that? That's weird. It's really weird. So he did like one interview from what I've heard, and that was it. He went on to become a psychiatrist or psychologist, I think. Yeah, one of those head doctors. He went on to do all that, and I think wrote a book too about interdimensionality and stuff. I think he got really big into studying that. And I wonder why. But this happened to him, and it's really weird. So another thing that's strange is he was from Deerfield, Massachusetts, and he wound up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. So that's another weird thing. I mean, it was two similarly named places, and one was where he lived, and one was where his aunt lived. So he had a relative, and he had some connection to the place he woke up. That's another weird thing. What's up with that? I don't know. But it's just really strange. I mean, he also had maps in his bag. That's another thing. And I think they were maps of like out west, like California and Oregon and stuff like that along the west coast. And he had routes highlighted, like marked, where they were like hiking routes. I think ones that he had hiked or something. There was like evidence of where he had been and stuff. I don't know. But he had these maps. So what was this dude doing? You know? It's some strange stuff. Another weird one is this Danny Philippitis, something like that. Anyway, he was a firefighter from Toronto who went missing, and this was recent, pretty recently. It was like 2018. Yeah, this dude went missing. It was February 7th of 2018, I believe. And he went missing on a ski trip with some of his coworkers, and they were, I want to say, in New York. Yeah, somewhere around the Adirondacks, in the Adirondacks, and skiing. And this guy, I guess, being Canadian, he was a good skier or something, and he wanted to get a few more runs in, he said, while his buddies went to eat lunch. So they left him to go, let him ski. And anyway, somehow or another, this guy went missing in between that time. And Dave Paulides has talked about this case, and I've heard a lot of other people talk about this because this is a well-known case and it's pretty recent. But there's some weird stuff that's up with this case. I'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, well, I'll give you guys the rundown of what happened with him. So this guy is skiing, and all of a sudden he doesn't show back up for or at the time he was or told his friends he was going to, I guess. He didn't ever show back up, and they were like, okay, he's gone. He didn't take anything with him. He had all of his stuff, like identification, credit cards, all that stuff, I think, in his wallet, in his in his backpack, in his bags, in his room. So he left all of that stuff. If he had just taken off, this guy went missing. All right. He like 6 days later, I think it is, he calls his wife, and he doesn't know where he is. And finally, she asks him to she convinces him to call the police. And he calls the police. And I want to say he called the police in the town where he was from. I'm not sure, though. I can't remember exactly where it was he might have just called 911. So anyway, he gave them enough information where they located him, where he was. And he was in Sacramento, California, like at the airport or something. So they picked him up, and got him and whatever. Anyway, he had a haircut. That's another weird thing. But he was still in his ski gear. Like, he was still wearing his ski clothes when he was found. Okay, the guy was wearing ski clothes. He had a haircut, and he had an iPhone. That's another thing. He was able to get an iPhone to call his wife, I believe. That's weird too. Okay, he got an iPhone. How he did it, I don't know. Well, he didn't really talk. He gave interviews after this too, and he didn't really talk about this. This is what's weird about this case to me. Okay, this happened. This guy winds up like 3,000 miles away from where he went missing. Okay, here's his story. His story is that he actually hit his head. They suspect that he hit his head in an accident skiing. All right, he thinks the main lodge is this kids slope lodge or something that's open seasonally, I guess. Only when they have kids coming there, I guess, or whatever. Anyway, they think that he made a wrong turn, wound up on the kids slopes, and thought this, because of a head injury, thought this lodge was the main lodge and it was closed. So he makes his way to a road, flags down or hitchhikes and flags down a trucker. Okay. He says this, that he remembers being in the cab of a truck. Okay. This trucker takes him all over the US because he winds up 3,000 miles away. And he takes him all over. There's some bass coming through from the road. This is pretty far away from the road too. That's pretty bad. Sorry guys. I hope you can't hear that like I can. Anyway, so this guy, that's really just driving me nuts. I'm sorry. I hate that crap. Anyway, okay, this guy is like in Sacramento, California with ski gear on, and he got there with a trucker that took him, I guess, all the way, because he said that he remembers the guy saying, well, this is the end of the line or something. And so I guess he just took this whole long, like 6-day journey with this trucker, 3,000 miles across the United States, and then went and got him a haircut, got him an iPhone, and because I think he might have had a credit card with him or something. So he had some way to do this, to get a haircut and get a credit card. Someone had to cut his hair. But, okay, this dude even had his ski goggles on still. He was still wearing his ski goggles. Don't you think you would have taken those off? I mean, if you're riding in a truck all that way. He says, though, that he just remembers these fragments of this that happened. And this is literally what he says, that he remembers being in the cab of the truck and getting warm, and then he remembers not being able to do much but sleep. He remembers the guy saying something about being in Utah, and then he said he remembers the guy saying something about this is the end of the line, and they were in Sacramento. He didn't know they were in Sacramento, though. He didn't know where they were, because he told his wife, who he didn't mention whatsoever in the interview. Okay? If he did, they cut it out. And they did cut pieces of this interview. I saw, where they, snipped it. You could tell. Anyway, this was crazy because it seemed like he was sticking to this story. Okay, the thing is, okay, his wife, in the story he told, his wife never got called. That's what it was. Because his wife, the way he found out that he was in Sacramento was, I think, that he went to the hospital somehow. Somehow he got to the hospital. He called 911, I guess, on his own volition, and then went to the hospital, and the doctors diagnosed him with head trauma or something, and found out he was in Sacramento and all that. That's like what he said on the interview. Okay, that goes against a lot of what I've heard. And his own wife, like, had to have said, had to have admitted that she talked to him on the phone, because he called her from a place where he had no idea where he was. And that just seems something is fabricated. But I noticed on one of the news reports about this, like back when it happened, when it was still recent. This was a news report from February 15th, and he had already reemerged, and this guy started saying stuff like this. It seems like pretty like right away, and they said he was on his way back to the Adirondacks for questioning. So I imagine he had to come up with some story to account for some of these things that happened to him. I mean, I don't see any way around it. He had to have done something like that. I mean, they had to have been like, look, you need to do this and say this, and because no one's going to think, people are going to think all kinds of stuff if you can't account for something. Yet they've never been able to locate this trucker, and they've never been able to find out who cut his hair. So, and he had that iPhone too. That's another thing. I mean, surely they had to have wondered, and I think he said it was a problem. It wasn't easy to get it or something, but he eventually got them to let him have it. And it just didn't fit at all what these other stories are about it. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think and what you've heard, and I'd be really interested to know what you guys think is true about this story specifically, because it is weird. And I don't know, I don't know exactly what's up with it, but it's a strange case. And the way that I just got the feeling that he was saying that, for reasons of, like I stated before, like he had to be accountable somehow for where he had been or something. There's people are going to be like speculating about some crazy stuff. It's just weird though. You don't wind up 3,000 miles away, and you don't ride with someone for 6 days and then not be able to find the person, especially if you've had national, media attention for your disappearance. You're going to, I mean, if that guy was like, oh, wait, that's that guy that I picked up and rode with me for 6 days across the United States of America. Oh, let me call somebody and tell them, yeah, he was with me, I'm the guy, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, if he's a trucker, I mean, I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. Of course he heard, I mean, it was a national story. So, surely if you're going to be suspicious about this dude that's with you for 6 days anyway. Man, don't you have a family? What's up with that? What's going on? You're not just going to let some dude thinking he's a complete... Where are you from? I don't know. Where are you going? I don't know. I'm just along for the ride for 6 days with you. And you're not going to try to find out anything. And you're just going to let me sit there and ride in this truck and... wherever you dump me is where you dump me, and then we go our separate ways, and something just is not right about that. Okay, so I don't know what's up with that. You guys tell me what's up. Did he go and retract that story and then tell another one? Because it seemed like from the get-go that's what he was claiming. Then maybe his wife came out with a different story, because I heard that he called his wife and spoke to her. So, I don't know. That's a weird one, though. Anyway, on to calling people. The subject of them calling people. I want to talk about Cullen Finnerty. Okay, Cullen Finnerty is one of those cases that is it's a weird one too. And I've heard David Politis talk about his case also. It's not a really old one. It happened in 2004 or no 2013. Yeah, it was 2013. May 27th, 2013 is when he disappeared. And this was strange because, okay, Cullen Finnerty was a quarterback. He was like a really good football player, a really good quarterback. And he won like 3 national championships, I think, and I think it was in North Carolina for college there or whatever. Anyway, he won like 3 national championships with them, and he was, just really good, and played, I think, after college. He went on to the NFL, and I don't think he was on the main roster or anything like that, but he was on the Ravens and the Broncos. I know that. But I don't think he didn't really go anywhere in the NFL. It seems like he found a job selling medical equipment or something like that, maybe pharmaceutical sales even. I'm not 100% sure on the specifics of what his profession was, but it was something to do with medical sales. And this guy was like just promoted in his job too. Okay, he went up to this place with his wife where their family goes for her family has like this cabin up near the state park in Michigan, and they went up there and they were staying in the cabin or whatever, and Cullen wanted to go fishing, so he got his wife to drop him off at the I think it was a state park actually that he went fishing at. But anyway, it was Baldwin River is where it was. And that's, I guess, where he went fishing. I think there was a lake too or something. But I also heard people say, like his family and friends and stuff, that went out searching for him and saw where he was going fishing, said that was like the last place they would want to go fishing at. So they don't know why he would choose that place. But anyway, I think it was about 30 minutes later, after his wife dropped him off, that he called her and said that he had encountered 2 guys out there, and he thought they were following him, and he sounded distressed and sounded like he was worried. And he was just in a kind of, frazzled, it seemed like to her, she said. And it was weird. Like he was having some kind of crazy paranoid episode and real distressed and confused. And so she was kind of worried, and he couldn't really tell her anything else, and I think just hung up or something. Well, hey, I can't remember how long it was. It wasn't that long after he had talked to her, maybe another 30 minutes or so. He had called his brother-in-law, and he told him, all he said was, "I don't know where I am." And he was lost. Okay. This was a place the guy had been to before. He knew where he was. I mean, he was not an incapable human. You know what I mean? They said he had been taking oxycodone. That's not going to make you that out of it, where you're not going to know where you are and stuff. Especially someone like him who I'm sure hurt all the time. He probably was pretty used to taking opiates anyway. So, whatever. That's beside the point, and I don't think that had anything to do with the way he was acting, or his behavior. I don't think that was a contributor at all to it. So, that out of the way, and I'm not condoning use or overuse, I should say, of things like that, misuse. But I'm just saying, he had injuries from football, and so I'm sure he wasn't, feeling great all the time. And I don't think, though, that had anything to do with the reason he was so confused and the reason he seemed so distressed and stuff. And I don't think he was hallucinating these two guys. I mean, I don't know that he described how they looked or anything like that to his wife. But, I mean, they were out there in a state park. I doubt they were in suits, But anyhow, this guy had on a camouflage jacket and waders, and I mean, he was like dressed to go fishing. And they, like, that was it. After that last phone call, they don't know what happened to him. He went missing and stayed missing for several days. And there's news reports talking about whether, like, the weather, the storms have come in and hindered the search effort and stuff. They had storms that came in, torrential rain pouring down and all that stuff. Rainfall, I guess I was trying to say. But anyway, that's, what was happening. It was just a typical missing 411 profile point scenario. The thing is, they, ended up finding him. Okay. The place they found him was a very weird place because it was out in the open. They found him face down in a field, like an open space. I don't think it was like a huge field or anything, but it was like an open area. And he was not far from actual residences, like houses, and a road, like a road that was actually pretty well traveled. So they said that the searchers could hear cars on the road from where they found him. And I want to say that they had checked that area already. He was like 4/10 of a mile from, I think, from where he got dropped off or something like that. He was not far. And if he was still in that vicinity, you're telling me that I can't remember exactly how many days it was that he was missing. I want to say it was around like a week, maybe, something like that. I don't even think I had written that down anywhere. Actually, I should have. But I know it wasn't a long time that he was missing. A few days, something like that. Anyway, they found him. They could not, with 2 autopsies, determine his cause of death. Then they go back and change the autopsy result to conclude that he died of pneumonia from aspiration. He like choked, I guess, inhaled his own vomit and got pneumonia. Okay, so if that were the case, how did he develop pneumonia that quickly to where it killed him from aspiration? So what, man, that doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? Do you guys see what I'm saying? The time frame just doesn't make any sense. That's what killed him, pneumonia. I don't think so. It was inconclusive. And for some reason, they just, I guess, felt like they had to put a cause of death. So they chose pneumonia, of all things. I mean, maybe if he had pneumonia before, like while he was out there, but that wasn't the case. They were saying, I guess, that he caught pneumonia while he was out there. No, I don't think so. See, there's something really, really weird about his case. And it's still, to this day, unsolved, They don't know what happened to him. They really don't. Nobody has any idea. So that's another strange case. But he made a phone call. Nobody heard anything, like, other than him being panicked and, saying that stuff. That's all that they heard him say. So, and they didn't hear anybody in the background that I can remember hearing about. But that's weird. He made a call and still couldn't get rescued, couldn't get help. He didn't know how to convey, like, where he was or what was happening. And where was he that he didn't know? I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff about that case. Okay. Anyway, we're going to move on from that. And I want to talk about this next one, which is Henry Macabre. No, I think it's Macabre, something like that. Anyway, he was foreign. I cannot remember where he was from. Guatemala, maybe, somewhere like that. Anyway, he was an immigrant, I believe. But I think he'd become an American citizen and stuff like that. Got his nationalization or something. Anyway, this guy, his story is really weird. He had a wife, and I want to say he was like a pretty well-known person in the community or something because of his job or something like that. He was some kind of financial accountant, advisor, realtor, who knows? I cannot remember. But no disrespect intended. But anyway, the weird part about what happened to him is, okay, he went out one night, and I want to say his wife was out of town on business or something. Anyway, he went out. A lot of people are like, oh, well, there's your first thing, a clue right there. No, I don't think he was out messing around. Even if he was, why would he do this? And he went and got his friend, who he got a ride with, I guess, to drop him off at a gas station that was not too far from his house. And he said he was just going to walk home, I guess, or something. I want to say he was like less than a mile from his house or something. So his friend, they had been partying and all that. So his friend was like, yeah, whatever, I guess, dropped him off. And this guy goes and starts walking home, I guess, by himself at night. I don't even think he had a flashlight, but he had his phone, and he called his wife. And I don't recall if he actually spoke to her, but there was a voicemail that he left, and I cannot remember what he says in the voicemail. I wish I could, but I'll find it and I'll put it in the description for you guys, a link to it, or a link to a video of it, because you can still find the recording, here on YouTube. Anyway, it's a crazy one though, because you hear these sounds and these noises and this like growling and like this gurgling growl type sound. It is crazy sounding. Sounds like something from the Alien movie, or Predator movie, or Alien versus Predator movie. One of those. Or all, I don't know. It sounds crazy though. It's not a normal sound. There's like some kind of creature there or something. Okay. It's weird. And I want to say you hear him yelling like he's in pain, like something's happening and he's getting attacked is what it sounds like. I can't remember if he said anything before that. Like, I really can't. But I know all these weird noises and were going on, and it was creepy. There's no question about that. Why would he fake this? And, I mean, he was missing and gone, and I don't think they ever found him. I can't remember if they ever found his body, but I don't think they did. Anyway, that is weird, if you ask me. That is very strange. Very, very strange. But he called, his phone called his wife's phone somehow. So what happened? What was going on? And that one also kind of reminds me of this other one, which is Brandon Swanson. Okay, Brandon Swanson's case was one where he was like a 19-year-old kid, and I can't remember what state he was in, now that I'm trying to recall it. uh, anyway, I want to say it was like Indiana or somewhere, but this guy wrecked his car one night. I think he like wrecked it into a ditch or something. It was like a rural country road that he was on, and he wrecked into this ditch, called his dad, told his dad that he had wrecked. He went to, I think he saw some lights in like, he thought what he thought was another town. And this town, I think it was called Lind in whatever state it was, still can't remember. But anyway, it was it was a town that he thought he was close to. And he told his dad he was just going to walk to the town and try to get some help or something. And his dad said, well, he would meet him in the town or whatever. And his dad went there. He wasn't there. He called him again and told him he was near this bar, and his dad said he was going to come over there. And he was nowhere to be found, I guess. I don't know if he even had time to go over there, honestly, before he called him again. I can't remember. But this last time he'd called him, he said something about he didn't know where he was or something. And then the last thing he said was, oh shit, and hung, and the phone went out. And it was like a surprised, like oh no, kind of oh shit. So anyway, I try not to use too much salty language on the PRH here. So I apologize if that took anyone by surprise. Every now and then, though, there'll be some kind of foul language on here, and it's just part of it. I can't help it. Anyway, I'm just messing around. I'm sure everybody can handle that. Anyway, but this was weird because nobody knows what happened to this guy. He was like just gone. And I don't think they ever recovered his body, even. I cannot remember if they did, to be honest. But they found his car. They did find his car. And it was on a highway. And it turns out like they pinged his cell phone 25 miles west of where he thought he was at, I guess. Like he was in the other direction. A town, I cannot remember where, but I think it was like closer to the town he was from. This was a weird case because this guy was completely turned around and something happened. Like he saw something. Something had to make him say that. You know what I mean? That's the freaky part. Like, what did he see? Was it the same thing that Henry McCobb saw? I mean, what was that on that recording? Would his dad have heard the same kind of thing if the phone had not gone out? I mean, what's up with that? I want to say even that Aaron Hedges that they covered in the Missing 411, the Hunted movie, was another case where he made a phone call. I think he called his friends on, I want to say they had like, or maybe it was walkie-talkies or something. Somehow or another, he tried to make contact, I believe. But it's just weird. I mean, what has kept anyone from getting any clues about this stuff? When there's actually been phone calls made. I mean, something is keeping this still. I mean, you can find people who have survived it and cannot give you any answers. That's the weird thing about this. Even those who have gone through it cannot tell you what it is. There's all kinds of evidence, but nobody knows. And that's why I have heard every theory under the sun, and some of them are far out. But you can't really discredit anything. You can discredit it, but you can't really dismiss anything when it comes to something that you have no idea about. As it is now, it defies logic and reasoning and rational thought, conscious thought. Like, it's a sad thing that happens, and I pray that it doesn't ever occur with anybody I know, or I don't want it to ever happen again to anybody. But it makes me feel like we a lot of the time we don't realize how out of control we really are of things. The only thing that we have any say over is our little society. The rest of the world, man, we don't run that show. I don't think, anyway. And there's a lot more behind the scenes than we think. I do believe that, too. But I'm not going to get too deep on that right now. Maybe later. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and I'm going to stop running my mouth about this stuff right now. So please leave me a comment and let me know what you guys think about this stuff that I've talked about, and give me your opinion on the stuff that I've said my piece about. So, anyway, thanks everybody for checking this out, and I'll be back with you guys really soon. Till then, stay safe and take care and take it easy. I'll see you guys later.